Hi, everybody. We are Kite Oil. Um, this is day 1,824 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss. On Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is involved in this, y'all. Fort Bliss is involved in this, and it is entangled with the Walmart mass shooting case, whether we like it or not. They're up to no good. They were up to no good on Fort Bliss, and they absolutely took my son's life. Um, and it is July 31st, 2025 today. Um, it's something. If we want to change things, we have to tell the truth. We have to tell the truth, and Fort Bliss is involved in this, whether people like it or not. And um, and there were absolutely cartel infiltrations um, on Fort Bliss and Richard's unit. They allowed cartel to run Fort Bliss. Absolutely. We know that because of DES Thomas Kane. We know this because of Leilani Hart. Why isn't she arrested? She needs to be arrested. Why isn't she arrested? And I put up about Patrick Crusius's weapon and ammo and the magazines, the color of the magazines, the type of ammunition, the type of guns. These are all legitimate questions. And that the Walmart mass shooting is connected to the Walmart case is absolutely confirmed. It is confirmed. And we have hard evidence for it. We have absolutely hard evidence for it because Richard's case is totally intertwined with the same individuals doing the cover up job for the Walmart mass shooting, for his taking his life. Same individuals. And that leads right into Delta 14380A on Fort Bliss. And uh, you know, you can have audio tapes of Joe Spencer, hard evidence. You can have marriage license of Brian Blake Crucius to the Mayella octopus, okay? Institutional octopus. You can have um, other hard documents, birth certificates, death certificates. Um, you can have, like I said, the audio. You can have all kinds of hard evidence. Um, and what post does the population or those that are watching this case, Richard's case, where is Richard's remains? Every veteran, every service member, every law enforcement officer, everyone that is their duty, even the oversight, even Veronica Escobar, even Senator Ted Cruz, everyone should be asking, where is Richard's remains? Where are his remains? Because all the connections, the family connections with the Mayellas, with Nadal Baim, with Gustavo Sanchez, the Texas Ranger, with Manny Chavira, the chief of police of El Paso ISD, with all these other connections with the FBI, with George Toros, with Dr. Melissa Mendez, with Leilani Hart, with her CID, former family member Tavita Nusa, who had his badge terminated, and his brother in mortuary operations and their connection with Bill Hicks, with the Purchase Funeral Homes that had absolute back and forth, cross border with their funeral business. That means dead bodies. Where is Richard's body? And hundreds of bodies are piled on top of each other right over the border. That's connected with Bill Hicks. That's connected with Purchase Funeral Homes. That's absolutely connected with Mario Raskin Ortiz, the medical examiner that's illegally holding that position in El Paso and in the country, and absolutely connected to the Purchase Funeral Homes in El Paso, with connected to Martin Funeral Homes, connected to the mortuary affairs. That, of course, don't forget, one of our biggest vile and vulgar harassers was Mortuary Affairs, Amber Chase. Absolutely, everyone should be asking the question, where are Richard's remains? Because the evidence is overwhelming. Overwhelming. When you have the State Department that we talked to, and we have them on tape, and I should put that tape up there, saying that yes, the FBI were looking for Richard's remains in Mexico. And then we have Nadal Baim. Oh yeah, he's in Mexico, dead. He's dead. His remains are in Mexico, dead. And then you have Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. You have the AG's office tampering with Richard's case. Tampering with Richard's case. Why would they want to do that, right? Because they're cartel, criminal trafficking, up to no good, all kinds of evil stuff, with even the funeral homes cashing in on US aid because they're con artists, right? Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia pretended to be a family member of a victim of the Walmart mass shooting so that she could cash in on the Walmart victims funds. That, those were over $12 million. She wanted a piece of it. She wanted a big piece of it. I think she got like 200,000. Um, and she's not even a family member. She tampered with documents. She tampered with apostilles. She's a con artist. And who is her family member? Danae Katzen, who was a con artist, absolute con artist. And what are they involved in? Insurance. That's all on interview, audio tape, videotape, lying, being a con artist. Where are Richard's remains? And what does this Fort Bliss group? Okay, this is a Fort Bliss from. Hey, do you know Payne? Do you know Payne, the PAO that absolutely should be fired? Do you know Nick? Um, what was his name? Nick Nolfinger or whatever. Uh, do you know him? Right? Because this is a PR stunt that are watching these live streams, because we have the truth. We have the connections, the family connections, the marriage certificates, the death certificates, the birth certificates, the audio tapes of Joe Spencer. That we have released and released and released. We have the information here. They have to watch it here. And then if anything connected these cases to Fort Bliss, right? Fort Bliss. We know, of course, they can't get around that. Richard's case is Fort Bliss, right? Is Fort Bliss. On Fort Bliss, in the line of duty, his life was taken. He was whistleblowing on Fort Bliss. He was whistleblowing on Fort Bliss. He was forcibly removed, and his life was taken in the line of duty, and his chain of command were part of it. They were part of it. And how do we know? Because we have all the paperwork, we have all the proof. And what do these negative people do? They're just trying to control the narrative to say, oh no, Fort Bliss had no part of supplying any kind of ammunition, any weapons, any magazines. Oh no. Our base is secure. We allow 14-year-old girls to live in the barracks for 4 months being pimped out, but our base is secure. We bring in girls that are mules to compromise our soldier, videotape them, post them anywhere, but we're secure. We have a security tag um, on the arms room, which we think is the place where they took our son's life, on his building, on the very building. We have the video, we have the security tag notice on the arms room, right? On the arms room. Oh no, this could not possibly have anything to do with stolen ammunition, stolen weapons. We have General David Stewart saying that the barracks were flush with weapons illegally in their possession, right? Not, that they were not supposed to have these weapons. We have another colonel that did a health and welfare, and all kinds of weapons, all kinds of other illegal things. And we have a group of people that want to write paragraph after paragraph after paragraph to say that, oh no, bullets could never come from Fort Bliss for crime. Are you kidding me? I was married on Fort Hood. I taught school in Killeen. I was born at White Sands. I went to school on Fort Bliss. Are you kidding me? Absolutely, these questions should be answered because we are not securing our bases. DES Thomas Kane clearly said that. The CCTV footage nothing was secured. Nothing was secured. We have hundreds of thousands of children. Not 100 children. That's horrible. One child, horrible. 1,000 children, horrible. Egregious, unacceptable. No, not 5,000, not 10,000, not 20,000, not even 100,000. We have hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked through Fort Bliss. 10,000 beds at a time at the emergency intake center. And who was looking over that? DES Thomas Kane. I want to do that X sound, right? What about Jules Tuganon Chan? XXX. What a con artist. What a criminal, an absolute criminal. And Ann Ogle, XXX, criminal. And we have people coming on saying, trying to defend Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is being called a death camp. And we are Americans. We demand transparency, and we demand the freedom of speech to ask these questions, because nothing that Patrick Crusius has said or done, nothing that Joe Spencer has said or done, nothing that Sam Medrano has said or done, nothing that David Guadarrama has said or done, nothing that Bob Moore has said or done deserves any trust. Any trust. They are absolute foul players. This is all foul play. All of it for open checkbooks, millions of dollars, and then they connive and twist. And here you have, even in their best twisting, Joe Spencer totally corroborates what he said early, that Patrick Crusius said on the 5th of August that he doesn't even, maybe one or two, which is, you only need one for a death penalty. But nothing makes sense. Nothing equals. And this is going to probably be breaking news. You know, poisoned pawns, right? Pawns, Pawns, like in the chess game. Poison pawns, like in the chess game. You had Poison Pawns 1, which was Julio Cordero, who has recently also lost his life at the hands of an El Paso ISD under Manny Chavira police officer. By that police officer under Manny Chavira, the cartel tied, illegal, unlawfully appointed chief of police for the El Paso ISD, because schools along the border have tunnels. You can't have, a non-cartel person being the El Paso ISD chief of police, that's tongue in cheek, okay, but with a lot of truth to it. And by one of his officers' hands, Julio Cordero lost his life. And Julio Cordero was on a pursuit to expose the poisoned pawns, like the chess game, the poisoned pawns. That means compromised people in positions like DPS Jose, DPS director, the Operation Lone Star, Operation Lone Star, director of DPS, Jose Sanchez, Mr. Frisky Hands, come on. That's a big story. That's really a big story that's going to break tomorrow. But Julio Cordero was trying to expose individuals like him, reaching up to the top of like Veronica Escobar, to even bigger players that are above Veronica Escobar. He had many arrested. And this is the breaking news. So we have it on very good authority that Julio Cordero's opinion on the Walmart mass shooting was, hell no, Patrick Crusius could have never pulled this off. No, those are not my words. That's Julio Cordero. Patrick Crusius could never have pulled this off alone. Hell no. No way. No way. And, so we've known this for a while, but we wanted to share that with you because we agree with him. Not because we say so, but because evidence confirms evidence confirms that the FBI did not secure that crime scene for over 2 days, for over 48 hours. That individuals walked the crime scene that were not supposed to be walking the crime scene, like Jaime Esparza, like uh, Ted Cruz, like Joe Spencer. Joe Spencer just said he walked the crime scene. Really? Uh, well, that kind of corroborates that he talked to um, Sam Madrano and Judge Guadarrama and said, "I'll take the case, but I'm not going to. I don't want nickels and dimes. I want an open checkbook." Meaning, I want taxpayers to go into debt for it. I want taxpayers to pay up big as an open checkbook. And the numbers that are coming out, I don't trust them at all. Because when you add up what has been spent over the years, it doesn't add up. The numbers don't add up. The numbers are skewed. So, when you have individuals walking the crime scene, when you have in the video that I released walking the crime scene, they were walking over Alexander Gerhard Hofmann, taking pictures of him because he was missing half his head. And the cop comes in, the El Paso PD, and just walks by him and doesn't radio secure the crime scene and allows it to be tampered with. It's they didn't even pull their cars up to the door to secure the doorway. I've heard professionals give us their opinion on the crime scene, and I really need to interview them on here because they're magnificent. And it is so bad what the FBI did that they did not secure the crime scene. So they didn't secure Walmart. Absolutely, there was so many breaches on Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss was totally breached. The border was breached. You had a funeral home business, Purchase Funeral Home, allowed to cross that border back and forth with their dead body operations. And now we have hundreds of dead bodies just piled up on top of each other, rotting. You should see that inside of that hearse. I just wanted to throw up. And then they're charging people, and yet they're giving people some kind of animal ash in a urn and saying, "Oh yeah," and then they're identifying their loved one as a unidentified Jane Doe or John Doe, and as a migrant, and then collecting U.S. aid money for their removal. And how many times did they want to say that they're unidentified? How many times did they collect on each one of those bodies? And was Richard one of them? And did they collect because of the autopsy numbers that we have? Did they collect in the United States on the SGLI? I mean, these are the questions that are absolutely backed up by evidence and stories in the news. And we've posted all of them. And so for people to uh just be oh, I guess, cover girls for Fort Bliss, like, but we still want to have grand theft larceny of our arms room. So, we can't let everyone know that we have a breach of security. Look, we've got the security breach seal. There was a breach of security. If there's a security seal on the door, if you have a soldier that's lost his life and they're not even contacting the family, there's a breach. And yet, you're so disgusting, you don't want to ask the questions. What forensics were at the Walmart? Did they come from Fort Bliss or were smuggled? Well, could be traced back to Fort Bliss, could be traced back to military grade weapons. Were these brown tip bullets that we got a big tip on, that brown tip bullets were found at the scene? Were these brown tip bullets special forces? Did they come from Fort Bliss? Did these magazines that are the FD, um, the tan colored flat, well, it just stands for tan colored. And these tan colored are military operations. They're for desert operations. Where have our wars been? In tan colored places, right? Most magazines, and we are a packing family. Most magazines, they come black. They come black. You can get the tan now, but you know that before 2020, they were like restricted for military use. Well, the Walmart mass shooting was in 2019. So, you tell me that we can't ask those questions, because let me tell you, Patrick Crusius is saying he bought the rifle from Romania. Okay, so he is blind without his glasses, autistic, didn't talk until he was 6 years old, couldn't tie his shoes until he was 18, has severe mental health condition that is documented all the way back to his early childhood. He has no money and no expenditures, right? No money and no expenditures. That's what the application for appointed counsel said. No money. He has none. Zero. Zero. One big goose egg. Zero money, zero expenditures. Living with his grandma, driving a vehicle that, I don't know, somebody filled gas in it for him because he had zero money. Somebody bought the orange for him because he had zero money. Someone, I think someone helped him drive down there. I don't know, because he had zero money. And he got lost all the time, right? He got lost. He got lost. He did not know even who really owned the vehicle. He had a phone, right? He said 4chan, but it was his manifesto was put on 8chan. He said he bought this weapon in Romania, and go check out the Romanian AK-47s. You're not going to like what you find. And then he says, "Oh no, I got it from somewhere else, Gun Central or whatever." And then, no, no, not that. Uh, then on one of our audios, it's um, Academy, right? Academy Sports, you know. Um, what? Really, really, where did he get the weapon? And you can't help but notice that it has military ties. You've got the Mayellas everywhere. You don't think the Mayellas are not on Fort Bliss? You don't think the Mayellas are connected to the Hearts? I mean, the Mayellas are connected to everybody. It's one big octopus. You don't think Mayellas are connected to Nadal Bayim, the Palestinian arms dealer? That's connected to the Hearts? And you got the first lieutenant up to no good, the platoon leader up to no good. You've got the VA IDS daddy up to no good. You have Leilani Hart up to no good, exploiting everything, even Hart childcare, while Leilani Hart is confessing in a notarized affidavit that says she is involved in the worst type of crimes against children, and Richard's body is missing. I don't think it's missing. I think they're not giving it to us because it's evidence. And you have people that want to defend Fort Bliss. No. Fort Bliss needs to be scrutinized. And those audits that were taken, because General Stewart said they were auditing. The IG were all over the barracks because of Richard, and they were being audited for their weapons and ammunition because General Stewart said it and Marlon Soto corroborated it, agreed with it all over Fort Bliss, and they were shaking in their boots. And those audits will tell us, were there missing mags? Were there missing ammunition? Were there missing guns? And this AK 47 M4s, whatever, right? But Special Forces uses AK 47s. Military have access to AK 47s. Yes, they use M4s. Yes, I understand. But that all needs to be investigated, and we're allowed to ask those questions because Fort Bliss has ruined all trust. All trust. They don't deserve any trust. Verify, verify, verify. I don't want to hear any words coming from Fort Bliss because they lie. They've lied. They've obfuscated. They have absolutely. They have. They have used the CAO to harass us, to make a Facebook page to harass us. They've sent their goons out to harass us. And they lied to us about Nadal Bayim, can you imagine? Who is the father-in-law of Bradford Bugado, the Richards command, lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. They lied to us and said, oh, he's just some guy. And you're saying that we're not allowed to ask the question that the people that have been involved in the Walmart mass shooting, that have been involved in Richard's case, and it's true, they've been involved in the Walmart mass shooting case, they've been involved in Richard's case, and they are absolutely connected to Patrick Crusius. And I haven't even gone into into the DA's office and everything, that we're not allowed to ask where this gun came from, where the ammunition came from, and where the mags come from. And, so I think we're just right over the X. Let's see. I didn't go to the page. I want to see any comments. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. That we're not allowed to. Yeah. So I hit a lot of those comments because they're just garbage. They're just, attempts to hypnotize people that want to ask real questions. That's what they are. They wanted to control the narrative so that everyone won't ask questions. That's why they harassed any supporter of Find Richard Halliday or Justice for Richard Halliday. They were absolutely retaliating against. And I think Glendon Oakley Jr. is the best example of that because it's all caught on video, how they just send their attack dogs. And let me tell you, if Fort Bliss is still doing this, and these are goons from Fort Bliss that are, not even asking the question of where is Richard's remains, what the hell is going on with Patrick Crusius? His brother is with Ernst and what is that other? The CPA company, and married to the octopus of Mayelas. They're not asking those questions. They're not coming on writing a whole paragraph about that. That's huge because Texas Tech University Health Science Center is the biggest donor for El Paso Matters of Bob Moore, the false narrative writer of all of this. And don't forget, Ernest Christopher Grant has been arrested. He was another one of their mouthpieces. And no one's talking about that. No one's talking about Ernest Christopher Grant that said the most vile and vulgar things, that was the biggest so-called witness, the liar witness of everything that Patrick Crusius did. And none of the videos show that what Ernest Christopher Grant was telling the public in 2019 and 2020 and having meetings with Governor Abbott over gun control. None of them are talking about that. I want transparency in the guns, transparency in what ammunition was used, and the clips that were used, because they look military to us. They look military. And that question needs to be answered. Where did he get this poor, zero income from a very wealthy family? Ernst and Young, thank you. A Ernst and Young family, with zero income, zero expenditures, yet can drive 10 hours, has autism, severe mental health condition, is sensory overload, blind without his glasses, no training at all with weapons. No way did he pull it off. I agree. We agree. We all agree with Julio Cordero, the FBI agent that was recently lost his life at the hands of El Paso ISD. And he was the lead investigator that arrested so many, dozens in the poisoned ponds operation. And now this is Poison Ponds number 2. And he was right. No way could Patrick Crusius pull this off himself. Was he involved? Of course he was involved. But he didn't do it alone. No way. So, I just think the number one question is, where's Richard's remains? And then anybody that's a veteran or a service member needs to ask, where's the accountability? Where's the accountability of the retaliation and the silencing of Richard Halliday, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier that was reporting on criminal trafficking along the El Paso borderland and on Fort Bliss? Because he told me, Mom, it's really bad. It's really bad. And believe you me, my son would not tell me on a phone that it's really bad unless it was even worse. And we never dreamt that the command would do something like this. And they did. And they need to be held accountable. If we are to be a country, they need to be held accountable. Sean Bernabe needs to be held accountable. General Garrett needs to be held accountable. General McConville needs to be held accountable. General Milley needs to be held accountable. Lieutenant General Donna Martin needs to be held accountable. Lieutenant Colonel, who's a colonel now, over the drones, Roddick, who's up to no good, y'all. He is really up to no good because he has some second businesses going on. Michael Roddick, he needs to be held accountable. Totally accountable. And these first sergeants, you don't know what I go through. No, you need to be held accountable to the highest extent for what you did. It is absolutely, they're traitors, total traitors. And totally easily compromised. But Richard wasn't. Richard wasn't. He's the hero. And so, yeah, I'm a little teed at these veterans that dare to come on and tell a Gold Star family that we can't ask questions about the egregious security breaches on Fort Bliss. Yeah. No, it's not. That's matter of fact, that's our army. They work for us. They work for us. And they need to answer to us. And we are a volunteer army. Yeah. Little read those paragraphs and I'm like, where the hell have you been? And you're defending Fort Bliss? Really? You're a mouthpiece for P.A.O. Payne and Nick Novizinger, for Sean Bernabe, for David Stewart. That's who you're going to be a mouthpiece for. They're absolute traitors. I call them treason. It's absolute treason because it has to do with the cartels, and it is absolutely in a time of war and foreign aiding and abetting, serving foreign and domestic enemies. And let me tell you, if they are covering up that these cartel tied individuals that are tied to Fort Bliss cashed in by impersonating our family and cashed in on SGLI and all of that on Richard's body, and then took his body over to Mexico to cash in on USAID. If that all comes out, because that is absolutely where the evidence is pointing to. No, this has to all be exposed. It has to be transparent. It has to be fixed. And the way to fix it is accountability. Accountability to the highest extent. And accountability is transparency. And that's why people want to know everything going on with the trafficking and all that, rightfully so. Rightfully so. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your prayers and staying on so late. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you.